This video is sponsored by Raycon. Winter 2021 has absolutely reminded me why I love being an anime fan. Attack on Titan making its mark on pop culture, Jujutsu Kaisen just getting better and better with every episode, Horimiya being the most wholesome thing on this planet, Wonder Egg cutting deep into my psyche, and then there's Redo of a healer. Airing a hentai car crash. But when I was picking which one of these shows I really wanted to talk about the most, I kept coming back to Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation. The Isekai of the season.
Oh shit.
If you're new to this channel here, hi there. I like Isekai. Yes, even the bad ones. And my relationship with the genre with this channel goes something along the lines of, alright guys, it's time to talk about another Isekai! Oh god no, Gigguk, please! I know you're bored of me talking about Isekai, I'm bored of me talking about Isekai, but after a relatively quiet 2020 for new titles in the genre, Mushoku Tensei has come along and I believe has shown how truly special this genre can be. So I'm going to talk about it. Rudius Greyrat is a newly born baby entering a fantasy world who, after appreciating his mum's rack, realizes he's just a baby and his first words after entering this world were, unbeknownst to them, Rudy is actually a 34-year-old man with his memory still intact who's been reincarnated after he died when he... Wait, what was the plot point again? Got hit by a truck. Because of this, his family haven't realized that they've given birth to a baby permanently horny on main. But as he grows up, he soon realizes that he's not the only one that's horny. There's his dad. He's basically a hentai protagonist. He's horny. There's his mom. She goes at it with his dad a lot because she's horny. There's his maid. She's horny too. The general population of this world, they're pretty horny. Eventually, he gets a teacher who's actually relatively normal. Nothing more to say about her. Just kidding, she's ultra horny. And thus begins Rudy's second life as he slowly grows older, learns about the magic and this new world, and discovering the wonders of Roxy's panties.
You could make a religion out of this.
Now for those of you who don't know more, this may seem like a very generic plot synopsis for you, and you may be wondering what about this plot separates it from every other isekai that you've seen. Yes, round here in the Isekai corner, Mushoku Tensei is often touted as the grandfather of modern Isekai, or the grandmother, or the father, or the alcoholic uncle who shows up at family parties and makes inappropriate comments about it's popularized a lot of tropes you see in modern Isekai. Antisocial nerd gets killed, you got a fantasy world with magic, fuck, you even get to see Truck-kun during his intern phase. Not to be that guy, but been following Truck-kun since he was underground, always knew he was gonna blow up. But I mean, it's easy to say that a piece of work is a pioneer of a genre and yet still age badly if the once original tropes it pioneered have become tired cliches, but somehow Mushoku Tensei is one of those few isekais I've watched where the tropes you recognize in it make sense. Cause one of the biggest questions I've always wondered is, why do isekai need to be isekai? With a lot of early stories in these genres, it would always follow the adventures of these characters trying to find a way back to their own world. 12 Kingdoms, now and then here and there, even fucking Digimon. There was a reason for these shows to be isekai because the main motivating plot point was to find a way back. But eventually this notion disappeared completely. Characters would have no interest in returning to their previous world, and instead the main reason for a story to become an isekai was, hey you, are you a loser nerd who needs a blank protagonist to project on? Well look at this blank projection of a loser nerd who's actually good looking, talented and smart, but don't worry about that because he's a loser nerd just like you. And now he's in a new world where he has sexy singles in his area and he's completely OP because of this one simple trick that makes every bad guy hate him. That's right, it's everything you could ever hope for. So jump in front of a truck today and get transported to the world of your dreams. Call 1-800-KILL-ME-NOW to book your next truck driver. Act now and we'll even throw in a free lolly. And all this time I've always wondered how the fuck did we get from point A to point B? And watching this made me realize that Mushoku Tensei might have been that missing link this entire time. Rudy was an unpopular antisocial shut-in in his previous life. He was bullied, he has social anxiety, he has trauma, and this led him to shut himself off from the world and become the person he was. He's an ugly, worthless lowlife of society who did nothing all day but watch anime, play video games, and jack off to hentai. I mean, look at this guy. Is this the hero you'd like to project yourself on? An ugly bastard who can't even find a role in a hentai? I bet he even moderates a Discord server. These experiences and the person he was isn't just magically changed because he was reborn in a fantasy world. He carries the trauma of his previous life. He's really horny because he's obviously never had a love life and views girls like they're a love interest in the eroges he used to play. He's not the perfect bastion of righteousness like every other isekai protagonist, but what he does have now is a loving family, people who are willing to give him a chance, and an opportunity to start over. The person he was before he was reincarnated isn't just ignored and forgotten about. In fact, it constantly plays an active part in shaping the kind of person he becomes in this world. He wants to become a better person because of the person he was before, not in spite of it. There's an actual reason for this isekai to be a fucking isekai. Not to say that this is the first isekai to ever refer to a protagonist's previous life, but it definitely feels like this one had the biggest effect and starts right from the get-go. The tropes and cliches you might recognize aren't just tropes and cliches as much as they are just core elements that build on the plot, characters, or world. They are not just surface level writing prompts, there's a reason why they are there. Looking at Rudy as a character, I know there's going to be a fair chunk of people who get put off by Rudy's behavior, but I think that's kind of the point. Even if there are some things he does that even I'm not going to stand here and try and defend. Like, I don't know where on the legality scale a guy with 30 years of memories trapped in a child's body essentially raising his love interest from a young age to become his perfect wife in the future stands, but it awfully sounds like a word that rhymes with schlooming, that is generally illegal and or frowned upon in most places in the world. I'm just waiting for this to be the next thing the Twitter hate mob picks up, but look, I'm not saying what he does is justifiable at all, or that there aren't some really weird things that happen every now and then. Did that guy really just tell an 8-year-old kid to use protection? Can everyone in this show for a second just... But what I am saying is that you don't have to support all of a main character's actions, nor condone everything that happens to appreciate a good fictional story. Through all of Rudy's actions, you can sincerely see him trying to become a better person. The more experiences he has in his new life, the more he realizes he doesn't have to be like that person he was before. We get to see him not just grow in age all over again, but as a person as well. And come on guys, who doesn't love a good redemption arc? But he's not the only one either. For example, his dad is basically an ex-harem protagonist and kind of a sleazebag who does some really cool things. But he does try to be his best to be a good father and set a good example for his son, even if he can't be that perfect role model himself. And then there's Eris. She's kind of a little shithead. The real magic of this show comes in the care that's been put into the characters and this world they envelop. There's nothing particularly special about the settings or the concepts, you can just feel the attention to detail being put into every aspect of this story. Every single character feels like a living, breathing part of this world, rather than just a buggy Oblivion NPC there to just fill the space. If this is catching your interest and you're just waiting for me to get to that one big plot hook to get you invested, well, there kind of isn't one right now. Alright, so I wrote that line and the corresponding paragraph a few weeks ago before the big plot hook did happen, so that really completely fucks up my next point. Because what I was going to say is that some may see this series as a bit of a slow burn, since especially at the beginning, not a lot really happens. A lot of it is just Rudy living his life and growing up. At times it can feel more like a slice of life, but it set up its foundation so well that I was already incredibly invested in these characters and the world. And now that there has been a big turning point in the series, I'm even more invested. Because big events don't need to happen for the series to be able to say a lot or do something interesting. For example, in one of the episodes, Rudy stages a fake kidnapping in order to teach his tsundere a lesson because yada yada yada, long story short, the kidnappers end up being real, he has to save the girl, gets a sword thrown at him and almost dies. Except, of course, he gets saved last minute, which didn't really surprise me or I'm sure anyone else. What did surprise me, however, is the bloody decapitated corpse that landed at Rudy's feet. And for the first time, Rudy says nothing. No over-the-top freakouts, no internal monologue, just a pure shocking look of, oh shit, there's a dead body in front of me. Which is such a small moment that made me realize how much I took something like this for granted when I've seen similar situations happen in other isekai stories, but yet it says so much, because despite the lighter tones presented in earlier episodes, this is not some harmless JRPG world. People die, people kill, and it can be brutal. And Rudy reacts exactly how any one of us would react. He's a 30-year-old shut-in who's just been presented with a fresh corpse in front of him. But this juxtaposed against how casually everyone around him acts means that this must not really be a rare sight for this world, so it perfectly sets up the tone for this type of setting and what we can come to expect in the future. It's not dark, it's not edgy, it's just real. And that's what I love about the series. It's incredibly grounded despite being set in that same cliche isekai fantasy world we thought we knew. And it says everything it needs to without always needing to rely on dialogue, even though it has a fuck ton of it. It knows when to show, and it knows when to tell, and it knows when to do a little bit of both. And even though this setting feels so familiar to what we've seen before, such care has been put into the way it's constructed and presented that it's just a treat to just inhabit it. Normally I like to gloss over production, because there's not too much I can say beyond the animation looks good, and the fight scenes are nice, and the music makes the nice noise. But there's something about this production that just feels special in every single aspect. Mushoku Tensei is done by by Studio Bind, a completely new studio that was formed from White Fox with staff members that seem to have a lot of experience working on previous isekai titles, and god damn, they must have brought together the Avengers of isekai staff members because this show looks and sounds incredible. According to interviews with producers, this studio was essentially formed just so they could focus on Mushoku Tensei, which is not only insane but also shows that someone has a lot of fucking faith in this series. The name Studio Bind doesn't do justice to how good of a job they're doing, because like fuck me man, this gets me excited straight in my studio shaft because some of this animation is making my studio bones straight up studio nut. Because the best way I can put it is that this doesn't feel like it belongs on TV. You know how you can watch an anime franchise movie and it can at times feel like you're just watching an extended anime episode or a bunch of episodes stuck together, because even if it has that slightly higher budget, it doesn't have this big screen presence. This is the opposite of that. It's a TV series that gives off this energy that it belongs on the big screen, and it's not just one nicely animated scene or just one amazing moment, but something about this entire show just gives off that vibe of a higher caliber production that feels like it should be encapsulated in the magic of cinema. And that's basically Mushoku Tensei. The only real downside I can think of right now is that I'm kind of scared how far this production can go. Right now, the anime is confirmed for 23 episodes this year, and judging by how much of the story is taking its time, we are barely scratching the surface. I'm praying to God that Studio Binds are able to adapt as much as they can, because even without reading ahead, I can already feel how much this story still has to say. And it would be a shame if it never gets the chance to say it, because watching this show has kind of made me fall back in love with isekai. Mushoku Tensei isn't just a story about a guy reincarnated into a fantasy world. It's a guy who's been given a second chance to do something better and become the person he never could be, who just happens to be reincarnated into a fantasy world, showing us that no matter how old you are, it's never too late to make a change in your life. It's never too late to better yourself. It's never too late for a coming-of-age story. And through all the overpowered protagonists and power fantasies and endless harems, watching this made me wonder if this was what isekai was always meant to be about. Not just another adventure in another time, in another world, but maybe just another chance at life. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed that video. Thank you to Raycon for being today's sponsor. Question: how much time do you spend every day staring at a screen? Too much. Well, Raycon wireless earbuds may be the perfect solution for you to take a break from designing premium wireless audio for half the price of other brands without compromise. 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass and more. Raycon are doing things differently, prioritizing customer experience from start to finish. Personally, I love using Raycons to consume content while giving my eyes a break, like listening to podcasts. Right now, I'm actually actively listening to a new one called Trash Taste, which is a new podcast I highly recommend. Raycon offers their wireless earbuds in a range of fun colors and patterns with a variety of fit options and no dangling wires or stems. The company was co-founded by Ray J, with celebrities like Snoop Dogg and Mike Tyson actively using Raycons. And not only that, but Raycon also have a 45-day free return policy on top of all this too. So, what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description or go to buyraycon.com/Gigguk for 15% off. That's buyraycon.com/Gigguk for 15% off. And with that said, thank you very much to Alpha Sigma, Basil, Box, Dysfunctional Degenerate, Elifal, iVito, Pain Patchett, and everyone else my Patreon for supporting me for this month. Where the fuck has the time gone? I swear it was just yesterday that the new season of anime just started, and it's like the spring season is almost starting. A lot of people have been asking if I'm going to do another seasonal breakdown. A lot of people have been asking if I'm going to do another seasonal stream where I stream our reaction to all the new anime coming out, and yeah, I'll probably do that. If you didn't know, yes, I did do that stream last season, but I don't have a final date right now, so if you want to be updated, just follow my Twitter or follow my Twitch at twitch.tv/Gigguk. I'll tell you what though, the next season of anime has a lot to fucking live up to, because my god, this season was amazing. Anyway though, that's it from me today. No further updates. I've been Gigguk, and I'll see you all next time.